This is a quick article review of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention's cost analysis, the economic burden of child maltreatment in the United States for 2015. It updates statistics that were released in 2012. This new study reports that the national child abuse and neglect cases counted in 2015 alone will cost the United States more than $428 billion over the course of those victims' lifespan. We know that exposure to adverse childhood experiences like child abuse and neglect can impact health both immediately and later in life in many ways. Individuals with higher ACE scores are at higher risk for chronic disease, engagement in risky behaviors, limited life opportunities, and premature death. These outcomes have monetary costs, which over a lifetime can accumulate to over $830,000 per child. Many of you have seen our child abuse and neglect fact sheet, which gives an overview of cost related to child maltreatment based on the 2012 report. The 2012 calculated costs are significantly lower than the updated 2015 cost, even though the number of child abuse and neglect cases have gone down since 2012. This is due to new methodology used to estimate costs, which includes more values of intangible factors attributed to child maltreatment. First, let's review some of the 2012 estimates. Here we can see the cost of 1 year of child maltreatment victims in Georgia will cost between $2 and $3 billion throughout their lifespan. The old study looked at a variety of short and long-term outcomes that added up to be $77 billion for direct and indirect cost of child maltreatment across a lifetime for just those victims reported in 2012. And finally, the cost broken down per child victim in the United States is over $200,000 over their lifetime. First off, the indirect and direct costs were adjusted for inflation for 2015 and over a lifetime. This slide highlights the methodology changes in estimated calculations. In 2012, they calculated productivity lost, and in the new study, they used quality-adjusted life years, which measures the burden of maltreatment in quality and quantity of life lived. It also includes more intangible costs from pain, suffering, and grief that is attributable to child maltreatment. Here we can see that the above costs added together reflect the total cost to an individual victim over their lifetime. We can see the significant increase in the cost estimated is due to the quality adjusted life year versus the productivity losses as a measure. If we multiply the total lifetime cost per victim by the number of victims in 2015, the new estimate totals over $428 billion for just cases in 2015. If we include the number of children with investigations, the total estimate is over $2 trillion. I'll go into this a little bit more on the next slide. Using this lifetime per child cost, we can estimate the specific costs from child maltreatment in Georgia for victims in just 2015. The new article estimates the cost of one death from child maltreatment totals $16 million. The total lifetime cost of non-fatal child abuse or neglect for each victim is $830,000. Just as the researchers did, we included substantiated victims, their first-time count, and children who also received an investigation. Based on the literature, they found there was no significant difference in developmental outcomes for children with substantiated maltreatment cases versus those who were just subject to an investigation but did not have a substantiated case. The totals over to the right might seem pretty high, but I just want you to keep in mind that these are lifetime costs. The most simple way to interpret these numbers would be child abuse and neglect cases in Georgia from 2015 alone will cost an estimated $18 billion. We simply cannot afford not to prevent child maltreatment. These are powerful numbers that make a huge case for the prevention of child maltreatment, but I want to make sure you understand the criteria around these estimates as well. These are lifetime costs associated with substantiated victims of child abuse and neglect from 2015 reports in Georgia. If we go ahead and add the costs associated with investigated children and child deaths, like I showed you in the last slide, the total estimate would grow to over $57 billion. If you're interested in looking at the total counts or the study, I have them linked in this slide. I wanted to share one more study released earlier this year that provides the economic burden estimate for the lifetime cost of child sexual abuse. This study utilized the previous estimate calculations of productivity lost and did not add in the quality adjusted life year, which included pain and suffering. So this number represents more of the tangible costs. The study goes into much more detail but highlights that the lifetime cost for victims of fatal child sexual abuse per female and male victim is on average $1.1 to $1.4 million respectively. And then the average lifetime cost for victims of non-fatal child sexual abuse is around $280,000 per female victim over the lifespan. There wasn't enough information on male victims to estimate this per victim cost. We saw in previous slides that there is no significant difference in developmental outcomes for children with substantiated cases versus those subject to an investigation but not a substantiated case. Providing caregivers and parents with resources to strengthen families and support the healthy development of children is vital to preventing or alleviating the impact of maltreatment. The 1-800-Children helpline does just that. It connects caregivers and professionals with information on supportive resources that you can use wherever you live in Georgia. Callers can talk to a trained individual who cares and wants to help. You can also search for programs near you on the interactive online map, which contains over 3,000 organizations and programs around the state that support families. Thank you everyone for your interest and in joining us. Our contact information is below if you would like to reach out with any questions or request any more materials regarding this presentation. You can see the resources below, and have a great one.